Good afternoon, people of YouTube. How you all doing, all right? That's good. Yeah, apart from that. Question and answers time. I've got, well, 6 pages, but that's because some of my answers are on there, just to remind me of stuff. And there's quite a few questions. Some questions sort of recurring questions, so I've tried to answer them all as most straightforward as I can. Anyway, here we go. So, first one is from, I never know how to pronounce this. Is it Rameman? Rameman, which is Andy. How you doing, Andy? All right. Andy says, hello, Lee. What county were you brought up in, and did you have rural or an urban upbringing? And one more. You have a good sense of humour that comes across in your videos. Who makes you laugh, comedian-wise? Take it easy, mate. Andy. Thanks a lot for that, Andy. I was brought up in East Sussex, rural upbringing at my grandparents' farm, and then I've lived I lived in a village pretty much all my life. Lived in Nigeria for a year, lived in Scotland for 3 years. Nigeria was proper rural. Scotland wasn't. That was in Aberdeen, so not rural. That was urban. Comedians that make me laugh. There's a few. I've got a bit of a twisted sense of humour. I either really like basic humour or quite cutting, hardcore humour. So, classic examples would be Laurel and Hardy. Make me absolutely crease up. Just to look at them makes me laugh. And Norman Wisdom is another one. Probably Norman Wisdom first, actually. He makes me, or he did, obviously he's not with us anymore, but he made me laugh my socks off at just the most stupid of things. And that's sort of my humour, really. The other person that probably springs to mind making me laugh is Russell Kane. Some of you might know him, some of you don't. Facebook him if not. He has some real funny moments. I just love the way he takes the piss out of people, basically. Okay, so let's answer that one. Thanks, Andy. The other question is from Dan, Camp Life Bushcraft. And Dan asks, what's your bank account number, your PIN number, and your sort code? Nice one, Dan. It's 21212121. Do one, mate. Yeah. His next question, because you're allowed as many questions as you wanted. A proper question this time, he says. Other than me, of course. Which is your favourite outdoor YouTube channel and why? Obviously yours is my favourite outdoor channel, Dan. Closely followed by Joe Robinette. Now, I know he's gone all commercialised now, but I still love his videos, I love his content. Even although he's got ads and stuff, and he's always vlogging something, whether it be Audible or whatever. I actually still watch his channel. Every time he puts a video up, I can just watch him forever. Love his humour, love his banter. The other one would be Hayes Outdoors. He absolutely makes me crack up. And he does some serious stuff as well, but he does actually make me crack up. So they're my top ones. Obviously yours is number one, Dan. A strange one from Paul Bisseker. Alright, Paul. I don't know whether this was a question or whether it was a date. He's asking me out for a date, I think. Are you up for a meet-up in the new year? Oh, get in. Day camp, beach camp, overnight camp. Now, I don't know whether that was actually a question for me to answer here, Paul. But I've Facebook messaged you, mate, so you need to pick up your messages. You know, meet in the car park and all that. Right, the next question is from Mark, Wye Explorer. Okay, Lee, what's the biggest high? Question mark. Dancing or digging in the dirt? There's probably no comparison, but it would be nice to hear your thoughts. All the best, Mark. Basically, raving or camping, I presume that's what it means. It's got to be raving and dancing, Mark. I do love it. Raving and dancing. Wild camping's up there, but it's for different reasons. But if I probably had to choose, it probably would be dancing and raving. Thanks for your question, though. Hope you're not bored yet.
is from Fun on Vancouver Island. I'm really sorry, mate. I don't know your name. You never sign off with your name, so I don't know it. Really sorry. Fun on Vancouver Island says, well, everyone is being so serious. Let's have a bit of fun. What's the most embarrassing thing you've ever done? You asked for sick and twisted. I had a long think about this because I don't actually get embarrassed easily. But there's one particular one that was quite embarrassing because I was with distant family members. Back in the late 90s, before I got married, it must have been about 96, maybe even 1997, I went with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, touring around Ontario in Canada for nearly a month. I took a month off work, we just hired a car and drove around basically. Also went to stay with some relatives that live near Niagara Falls, distant relatives. Stayed with them for a few days, and we went out for dinner one night basically. I can't remember if it was Niagara or Toronto. I think it might have been Toronto. Anyway, went out for dinner and had dinner. It was lovely, and I felt a little bit of gas build up in the old tummy, and I thought, well, I need to do a little fart. I'll just let a little one out because it was quite hot in there, and there was lots of, I think it was like a barbecue place, I can't remember, but it smelled sort of a bit foody, so I thought I'll probably get away with it. So lifted my butt cheek to one side and let out a little fart, and this humongous, ginormous explosion happened. And you can imagine what it was. I won't go into too much detail, but just the smell and what it was in my underclothing, and went through to my jeans as well. So I had to sort of make my excuses as I left the table, as it was excuse me, dripping down my leg, and I had to go and sheepishly ask a waitress whether she had any clothing I could borrow so I could get changed in the toilet, and she said no. She went and asked the chefs, and the chef came out with an apron, like a chef's apron, and said, that's the only thing we've got. You're welcome to have it, because it was a bit ropey. You're welcome to have it and use that. So I can't remember how I got hold of my wife, my girlfriend at the time, but she came in the toilet with me and was laughing a lot. And anyway, cut a very long story short, I had to sort of clean myself up and stuff, and then wear this apron, the chef's apron, back out through the restaurant, covering my butt up, because obviously it was just covering the front up. My wife, Karen, girlfriend at the time, was walking behind me trying to cover me up with her jacket. That was probably my most embarrassing moment to this day, purely because there was a lot of laughing going on in the restaurant. So that was a brilliant question. I had to really think on it, because there's been a couple, but because I don't get really embarrassed that easily about things, I had to sort of really delve deep into the memory banks on that one. And Karen reminded me, my wife reminded me of that. So then I had to get into the car with an apron and drive back to our hotel with the apron on, make our excuses to our distant relatives, because I think that might have been our last night, which is probably why we're in Toronto, actually, maybe. Last night of staying with them. Anyway, that's it. So that was my most embarrassing moment, crapping myself in a restaurant, trying to let out a cheeky fart. Yeah.
Right, next question is Alan, Metalman. All right, Alan, how you doing? What is it about wild camping that you prefer over camping with creature comforts in a campsite? And do you prefer solo or group wild camping, and why? It's a bit of a mouthful, that one, so I have to write this one down. The price for one, Alan. The piece that you get, the challenge of setting up somewhere new, somewhere that hasn't got facilities. I like that. That's what I like about wild camping. Not waking up to screaming children and barking dogs is also another bonus of wild camping. Wake up to birds and the trees. Peace and quiet. That's what I like about it. I prefer group camping overall, I'd say.
again for the banter, the friendship, the laughs. Solo camping's good. It's good for the soul, solo camping, solo wild camping. But it can get a bit lonely, especially on dark nights. If you've got a long night, you just got yourself to chat to. So overall, it'll be group camping. Thanks a lot, Alan. Great question. Sunny now. Look, I've got the sunnies on and the hat on because it's a bit chilly. Right, Gaziano Outdoors. All right, Gaz. He says, all right, Lee, mate. Looking forward to your answers to all these questions. Where would be your dream wild camping location in the world? All the best, Gaz. Well, Gaz, it's going to be Canada, actually. Algonquin National Park in Canada. Absolutely amazing place. We spent a lot of time there when we went to Canada. In the previous question you heard a little bit about it, and it was just beautiful. We went in September, so the fall was just starting, you know, autumn, and it was just stunning, absolutely stunning. The lakes, the trees, the colours, the waterfalls, just beautiful. Also, I don't think they've got too many snakes in Canada, certainly that time of year. I'm not a big fan of snakes or lizards or anything like that. I had my gut full of them in Nigeria. So Canada, purely because of the climate. Summer is bad for black flies, I believe, but fun on Vancouver Island probably put me straight on that. But that time of year, there was no bugs. It was great, and just the colours are just amazing. That's when you need a pucker camera. But that's where I'd like to go in the world wild camping. I mean, you know, there's plenty of places in the world I want to go to visit, Japan and Vietnam and places like that, but to camp, not so sure. Maybe Japan, maybe, but I think Canada really would be my top go-to destination. Plus it's more accessible than Japan. I mean, Japan's like a 14-hour flight or something. Toronto's 7. In actual fact, I think Japan might be 17-hour flight. It's a long way anyway, and I don't speak Japanese. I'm turning Japanese. I think I'm turning Japanese. I really think so, but I don't speak it. I speak English and fluent Canadian. Hope that answers your question, mate. Next question is from Trev, Bearded Bushcraft. All right, Trev, how you doing? Long time no see. Trev's question is, where has your favourite rave location been, and what made it your fave rave? Oh, I've been to so many that it is a tricky one, really tricky. Probably my favourite one to date was in Nijmegen, which was a couple of videos back. If you want to watch that video, if you haven't already seen it, new subscribers, if you haven't seen it, go and watch that video, because it's not just the raving, because if it's just an overnighter, then yeah, you go out, have a couple of beers or whatever, have something to eat, and then go to a rave, come out, go home, get a train. But when you go for a few days, like a long weekend, it's just the whole experience of you know, the anticipation building up of going to the rave, whether you're flying or however you get in there, meeting up with my rave buddies, having a laugh, having something to drink, doing something different, going to a new place. So that sort of builds you up to the whole event. And the one in, you know, I've been to some that have been a bit so-so, and the crowd have been a bit crap, and you know, some people, for instance, London ones, there's a lot of tourists go to London ones. Ministry of Sound is a classic example. It's just full of tourists who just are there for a laugh. They're not necessarily there for the music. But Nijmegen, when I went to see Rickalls, who is an absolute genius, if you ever get a chance to see him or just listen to his music, he makes all his own music from scratch, electronic, and he does an orchestra type thing now as well with his own, you know, he plays the organ, piano, electric piano, whatever that device is that he plays. But Rickalls is the man, and just very uplifting music. And you know, although I like raving a little bit hard techno, he's all sorts. He's, you know, soft, hard, hard, soft, hard. He's all sorts, and just a brilliant all-rounder. But that particular rave that evening was just the company. My rave buddies were with me. It was, you know, they're always good company. the crowd were brilliant. They're all fun. They're all up for it. All up for having a laugh. Everyone was dancing. There's never any trouble really at any of these raves and gigs and stuff that I go to. Apart from in London, actually, there's always a little bit of argy-bargy. No fights, but it's always sometimes there's a bit of an atmosphere. But Rickalls in Nijmegen in the Netherlands, just brilliant. Yeah, that was probably the best one I've been to overall for just experience, and I had like a warm, fuzzy feeling inside. Yeah, it was good, really enjoyed it, and that's probably my favourite one to date. And I've got loads of others booked for next year, so it might not be my favourite next year, but certainly this year that's probably been my favourite. If you were going on rave weekends, whole weekends, then Amsterdam was brilliant, but overall Germany wins it for me for just the crowd, because Germans love techno, and the crowd, you know, the outside ones, all the festival type ones, when they're outside and they're in daylight, it's just brilliant. Really good crowd. But that wasn't the question you asked, Trev, so Nijmegen was probably my favourite rave where I went to see Rickalls. Hope that answered your question, mate. Hope you're keeping well. Right, next one is Rue at Prepared Camping. Right, Rue, how you doing? Nice to see you. Nice. Rue asks, what do you most look forward to or dread about Christmas every year? Well, that's easy, absolutely easy. Christmas songs. I absolutely detest them. The reason why is that I listen to the radio day in, day out, all day, and only Radio 2, nothing major, not Radio 1, I'm getting old now, but it's just an easy listening station all day. It doesn't offend my clients. But 3 weeks before Christmas, what's that all about? 3 weeks starting the Christmas songs, and it just builds up, and then every other song's a bloody Christmas song. Does my head in. That's when the techno goes on in my headphones. That's what I dread. Yeah, and basically the excitement's gone out of Christmas. My children are 16 and nearly 19 now, and you know, they're not young kiddies anymore, so the Christmas excitement just isn't really there. I actually didn't want to get a tree this year, but I got absolute grief from my daughter and my wife. Absolute mountain of grief for not getting a tree. And we always get a real tree. And I just couldn't be bothered with it, to be honest. They bring it home. They choose the biggest, bushiest, tallest tree in the world. I mean, it's probably bigger than the big fir tree they Norwegians give to London every year. It's massive. And then they spend like 50 quid on a Christmas tree, and I end up cutting half of it off because it's too big to be in our front room. So, a £50 Christmas tree turns into a £25 one. You know, you've got to cut the base off, make sure it's flat, fit it in the holder. Oh, it's just grief. So, bar humbug. That's what I dread. That's what I hate about Christmas. Cheers, Roo. See you soon, mate. Steve Outdoors UK. Alright, Steve, how are you doing? Hi, Lee. It's obvious that you have loads of confidence, mate. My question is, were you nervous filming your first ever YouTube vid? I get the jitters just thinking about it. Steve. Great question, Steve. Believe it or not, I'm actually quite shy. I wouldn't get up and do any public speaking. I'm not very good at speeches, even if it's prepared, actually. I'll get the jitters about that, to be honest. I wouldn't say I'm that confident. I am on some things. I'm confident in my job, I'm confident talking to people. I can meet people and talk to them, it's not a problem. But a lot of that is to overcome shyness from when I was a teenager, really, although again I would just talk to people to overcome that. But what's done it for me in front of the camera is that years ago, me and my buddy Gordon, alright Gord, if you're watching, we bought a Sony Handycam camera between us, you know, when it was like high 8 cam. It wasn't even digital, high 8 was it, I think. Can't remember what tape it took, but you had to transfer it onto VHS or Betamax or whatever to watch it.
and we got this camera, and we just used to film everything. And this you know, there was no editing. You could edit, sort of, you could put little logos and things on the screen, but it was pretty primitive. And these handy cams were a lot of money. I think it was about £1,000 then, and that was going back to when I was 21, 22, so 30 years. And we just did a lot of filming. We used to film people, we used to do stupid sketches, we used to do all sorts of stuff. And you know, walk into buildings and interview people for no apparent reason. It was fun. We just did it as a hobby, and that's how come I'm quite confident in front of the camera. So it wasn't really a problem. You have to sort of overcome speaking around people sometimes, especially if you're in towns, or you know, when I go away on my little ravey things. I do try to keep away from people if possible, because they, you know, they can disrupt you a bit. But it doesn't bother me if people are there. I just talk away, and it's up to other people what they think. I wouldn't say I've got lots of confidence in certain things. So I hope that answers your question. Let me just check what else you said, or what else I said in answer to that. Bear me a second. Bear with. I answered that. Cheers, Steve. Thanks for your question, mate. Demon Film Productions. All right, Demon. How you doing? Thanks for your comment. Demon asks, what is your dream car? So easy. Porsche 911 Turbo, wide bodied. That's my dream car. I will get one day, but I need a few more pennies before that can be achieved. Cheers, Demon. Thanks for your comment, mate. Appreciate it. Next question is from Jimmy Robson. Right, Jimmy, how are you? Question is, who is your motivational hero or heroine? That's another tricky one that I had to think about. Spin you around there and put you in the sun. It's probably a better light. It's a fantastic question, Jimmy. It really is. I don't really look to others for motivation, to be honest. I'm pretty motivated myself, and I motivate myself. You know, I run my own business. You have to be motivated, otherwise you don't earn any money. But I'd probably say Richard Branson. Might sound a bit cliched, really, but he started with nothing, started a record shop in his teens, and look where he's got today. Hard work, positive thinking. I've read a couple of his books and biographies and stuff, and he's an amazing man. And whether, you know, a lot of people don't like him, most people do, but you know, he has got some haters out there. But you know, his battle against BA and his just general battles in general, you know, Virgin Records, just amazing to you know, to get where he is from that little tiny record shop back in the day in his teens. So Richard Branson is your answer, Jimmy. He's probably my motivational hero. Cheers for the question, though. The guy, I don't know if you can see him there in the distance, not these guys, the guy in the distance just come up to me. He's walking his dog, and he just come up to me and said, you're not flying a drone, are you? Because I've got you guys on a selfie stick. Looks a bit like a drone holder, like you hold a Mavic Pro or whatever. And he said, are you flying a drone? And I'm quite close to Gatwick, and you can actually hear planes taking off. So I said, no, it'd probably be a sore subject today. For those of you that don't know, Gatwick's been closed for a couple of days because someone was flying drones over the runway, but most people probably know that on the international views, I would have thought. So yeah, it was quite amusing. We had a chat about drones, but I haven't got a drone yet. Raw Dev, R-O-R-D-E-V. Alright, Raw Dev, don't know your real name, I don't think. His question is, how did you learn bushcraft techniques, and how would you recommend someone new to learn them? Two questions, in brackets, two questions. I'm guessing the answers might be different. Good question, thanks, but I don't really know a great deal about bushcraft because I don't really bushcraft. I've done a little bit with a ferro rod, and you know, I've lit fires and tried to feather stick. I'm not very good at feather sticking. I don't try enough. I like I like it. I like to watch it. I watch lots of bushcraft channels, but I don't consider myself to be a bushcrafter. I probably consider myself to be a raver wild camper, or a ramper, or a camper, something like that. Anyway, I'm sure you can come up with some names to mix raving and camping. A wild raver, a rave wilder. But to learn bushcraft, well, there's tons of YouTube channels out there, mate. If you want to check some of those out, there's some really good ones, which I can't think of. There's tons of them. Just put bushcraft in YouTube. I mean, I don't know whether you found my channel because of bushcraft, or a bushcraft tag maybe. Maybe I did a bit of bushcrafting that day, but I don't really do a lot of bushcrafting. I do want to do more, and I certainly want to start a fire with a bow drill, although I always take the mick out of bow drills because I can't actually do it, but I've never tried it. It looks difficult. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. If you want to learn it, I mean, there's schools that do it. You can learn bushcraft. There's plenty of bushcraft schools about. And YouTube. I learned most of my wild camping and bits and pieces from YouTube, and then just go out and do it. I mean, watch how people make feather sticks on YouTube. Go and watch Joe Robinette, he's good at it. And then just do it. Get yourself a knife and give it a go. That's all I can suggest, really. I'm no expert in bushcraft, but I'm sure someone will pop up in this video and advise you, mate. There's tons out there. Trev from Bearded Bushcraft, he knows a bit. Rickalls Outdoors, he knows a bit too. There's quite a few out there that do that dabble in it, shall we say. Hopefully that answered your question. Cheers. Next question is from Nudge Outdoors. All right, Nudge. Quality name, that. Nudge. Your question, Nudge, is: Hi Lee, if you had to choose, a lot of them are revolving around the same theme here, but you know, if you had to choose going outdoors bushcrafting, see the previous comment about bushcrafting, or going to a techno club, what would it be? Lol. All the best. Nudge. Yeah. Again, it's tricky. It's gonna have to be. If I had to choose between the two, it would be techno all the way. One, because I don't bushcraft. So you've made my answer actually quite easy, really. I don't really do a lot of bushcrafting. If you'd asked me about wild camping, maybe the answer would be slightly different. But because I don't bushcraft a lot, or at all, really, it would be techno. I hope that answers your question, Nudge. Sorry if it's a bit of a boring answer, really. Okay, next question. It's chilly outside, that's why I'm in the car for a minute to warm up. Is from Joss. Alright, Joss, how you doing? Question is, I wondered if this would come up. Are you a Brexiteer or a Remainer? So did I vote to leave Europe or to stay? Trust Joss to bring the tone down, eh Joss? I did vote to leave, so I'm a Brexiteer. Many reasons for it. One of, or two, maybe even three of which were based on now what appears to be lies. It wasn't really an immigration issue either. I'm not going to reveal all my views, but they're not far right views or anything like that, that's for sure. So I did vote to leave, but if I had to vote again, I may change my mind. I'm not really political at all, and I sort of normally go with these things with my gut instinct or based on facts. Perhaps I didn't look into them enough, I don't know, really, to be honest. I don't want to get into too much into a debate over it, really.
I'd rather debate over the cost of a beer or whether my French fry is larger than someone else's, which mainly it is. I've got a bigger French fry than anyone else. So in answer to your question, Joss, yes, I did vote to leave the EU. Hope that answers your question, mate, and look forward to seeing some videos soon. Right, the next question is from Chris Auton. Right, Chris, you may remember Chris tagged me in a video that I did, the Show Us Your Steak video, which has actually got quite a lot of hits on it and some very, very positive comments, so thanks everyone for that. I didn't think I did a terrific job, but by all accounts I did, so thank you very much. Chris's question is, so do you ever take kit to a rave because you've no idea where you'll be stopping, or did you start wild camping after waking up under hedges after raves? Thanks, Chris, for your question. I normally know where I'm staying. If it's Europe, then perhaps we've got a hotel booked. I normally try and stay with my rave buddies, or stay in the same room, or in an apartment, or you know, someone's house. I always try and do it on the cheap if I can, which, you know, then reduces hotel costs. If you've watched my other video when I went to Nijmegen a couple of videos back, I explained the costs there of how much things cost to go to London, for instance, for a rave, which is really pricey. If you stay at a hotel for the night and train up and train back, and food and drinks, that's really expensive in London. You know, it can be up to £10 for a pint of beer in London in clubs. So and £5 for a bottle of water. What's that all about? I always try and save a bit of money where I can. You know, I like to spend a bit, but I also like to save a bit if I can, and to enable me to go to a lot of these raves, especially outside the UK. You know, it's flights, it's trains, it's accommodation sometimes, or a share of accommodation, drinks, entertainment, going out, having dinner before you go out, etc, etc, etc. So if I don't have to pay for a hotel or a sticking my sleep mat on the floor, then great. There was another answer to your question. I basically started wild camping because I've always loved camping on campsites, and wild camping was a natural progression really from that, mainly because it's free. Jim Bob Suzuki, my mate Jim Bob Suzuki. Alright, Jim Bob, or Scout as I like to call him, because he scouts some great locations. So if you wanted to know why he's nicknamed Scout, that's why, because I nicknamed him Scout because he is the scouter of all locations wild camping. He's the man. You want to know anywhere, even in India, you could probably find you a spot just looking on Google Maps. I'll call him Jim Bob rather than Scout, because then you guys know who he is. He put, bloody hell, Lee, that's a brave one, because I left questioning, you could ask me anything you wanted. Which people have been very reserved, actually, apart from Joss and apart from Fun on Vancouver Island. People have been very reserved, and I'm quite surprised. I thought everyone was going to ask me really twisted questions, you know, but they haven't. Anyway, Jim Bob asks, bloody hell, Lee, that's a brave one. I'll give you an easy one. Thanks, Jim Bob. What has been your favourite camp to date? I had to really think about that one. There's been quite a few decent camps to date, to be honest. And I had to sort of base it on, was it a solo? Was a solo my favourite? Was it group camping my favourite? Was it with just one person my favourite? Really tricky. But it was actually with Jim Bob Scout and Rickalls Outdoors. When we went to Abbott's, I won't say exactly where, Abbott's, that you guys will know, in the summer, back end of the summer. And our hammock camp, that's also in the description. I think it was about June, maybe July, I can't remember. I think it was really buggy, but that was my favourite camp, just purely because it was chilled out, it was nice surroundings, lovely weather. Apart from being bitten by bugs, I probably was bitten by mosquitoes, as I always am. But it was just chilled out. We had a brilliant chat around a fire. We all sat around, had breakfast together. We all had the same cooking gear. Yeah, it was just that was a memorable one. So that was probably my favourite. My second favourite would be my solo, probably my first ever wild camp solo, which was on a beach somewhere near Eastbourne. That's all I'm going to say. But again, if you're a new subscriber and you haven't seen any of these videos, go back and look through my videos and just have a look at them. Fast forward through them if you really want to. But I'm quite proud of them, especially the first ever solo that I did on a beach in a Dutch Army hoop bivvy. Quite proud of that one. So thanks, Scout Jim Bob. Thanks for that question. Nice one, mate. Question is from Lawrence, LM Bushcraft. Lawrence was the guy that won the backpack giveaway that I did in previous videos. Really nice chap. How you doing, Lawrence? Nice to chat to you. Thanks for your question. But it's again about bushcraft. So either, I'm going to be sort of blunt, either people aren't watching my videos and don't know what I'm about, or perhaps they think I do more bushcrafting than I do. But I don't. So, but his question is, hi Lee, what got you into bushcraft in the first place? Now I'm hoping, Lawrence, that you meant wild camping. So that's my sort of answer. I'm going to answer it as wild camping because I think that's probably what you mean, mate. Because I think we had a chat about it when I came around your house. About wild camping and talking a little bit about bushcraft. But again, the answer to the bushcraft ones, you've already seen the answers because I'm literally doing these in order as the comments came in. So, yeah, but I got into wild camping really from, I love camping, always loved camping as a kid, you know, in a tent in the garden, that kind of thing. Did my first ever actual unofficial wild camp on a beach, which again is in a video way back. That's not in the video, but where I wild camped when I was 15 on a beach at Durdle Door. That was a sort of by accident wild camp, but that was a memorable one. But I've always loved camping. I've always been camping with the children and my wife, and she loves camping, but always on campsites, you know, and always had to have a nice hot shower. And when we had kids, we always got campsites with a family room, so you got a bit more privacy when you needed to go for a number 2 in the morning. You know, I can't sit next to someone when they're doing a number 2. It's not very nice. So, you know, so it's always campsites, nice campsites, you know, Devon, Cornwall, that kind of thing. Local, Eastbourne, Norman's Bay, there's plenty of campsites that we used to go to. And then I was ill one weekend. I would always watch YouTube, and from when it started, I'd watch, you know, things on YouTube, but there wasn't as much as when one weekend I was ill. I was lying on the sofa all weekend feeling sorry for myself and just started. I've always been into survival, and I've got SS survival handbooks, and I've always been intrigued by the fact that if you had a plane crash on a desert island, not that I'm ever going to fly over a desert island, but if you had a plane crash or something, what would you do? How would you help yourself? How would you get water? How would you eat? How would you fish? That kind of thing. So I was always interested in the survival aspect. So I started watching survival videos. Ray Mears, you know, old Ray Mears and Les Stroud. Absolutely love Les Stroud. Watched tons of his videos. But they were all, you know, pretty grainy because some of them are old and just re-uploaded. And then I stumbled on more and more videos, and as I was watching that weekend, then I just sort of got hooked on those types of videos, and somehow, I don't know how, but I ended up watching a wild camping type video. It could have even been Joe Robinette, because he was doing that kind of thing. I looked on the recommended list and there was a whole load of like wild camping come up, and I watched tons of them from George, Bus Pass Camper, right George, if you're out there. Yeah, tons of different people. Patrick up north, can't remember his surname. He does some brilliant wild camps. Andy Wardle, Wild Camping 101. There's just absolute tons that I was just watching and watching and watching and watching. And that's how I sort of got into it. And I kept thinking, well, you know, how do I approach that? I'm a little bit of a scaredy cat. I don't really like woods on my own and things like that. And then I got in contact with a couple of YouTubers, Rickalls being one of them. Then we had a group, Trev, Bearded Bushcraft. I had a meet up with him, although Trev doesn't really do wild camping, but he was more bushcrafty and just going out for the day. But, you know, Trev had a brilliant tarp set up, and we had lunch under the tarp and that. It was just brilliant. And like-minded people, trying to find like-minded people is quite difficult until you get to know YouTubers, and you know, obviously the big YouTubers are never going to go out with you because, you know, you're just a new YouTuber, so you're a newbie or a new wild camper, the chance to go out with big YouTubers, you know, with thousands of subscribers is you know, probably non-existent unless they already know you from the early years. And but I reached out to a couple of the guys, and they, you know, they welcomed me, and we met up, and we did a beach camp on my beach, as it were, the first one where I met Jim Bob. Rickalls came, Ronnie Woods, I think he's changed his channel now, met him as well. And was there someone else there? No, I think it's just 4 of us. But you know, had a really good time, and I got into it a bit more then, and you know, bought some more gear, bought some more kit, bought some more paracord, bought some more tarps, bought a better sleeping bag, and that's how I got into wild camping. I'm going to say, Lawrence, not bushcraft, because I don't really do bushcraft. So I hope this answered that question. But as the more and more I do wild camping, I love it even more, and the more experience you get doing it, I love it even more. You know, going out in the cold last week with the lads. Will, all right, Will, if you're out there, thanks for your question. You didn't put one in. Yeah, it's the more you do it, the more you love it, the easier it gets, to be honest, and the less apprehensive you are about it. So if there's anyone out there, new subscribers, thinking about wild camping, you've just got to get out there and do it, but within your comfort zone. So just go somewhere local if you want to do it. Or as local as you can, and you know, with your car close by, so if you want to bail out, you can. Thanks very much for that question. I'm just going to stop because my thumb is aching, and I haven't put my thumb in anywhere, just for the record. It's not been anywhere, my thumb, apart from holding this selfie stick. Okay, next one is for a question from Jim Timber, my old mate Jim. All right, Jim, how you doing? Shout out Jim. Probably the most prolific and funniest replier to any of our videos. I'll be honest, Jim, I didn't get your sense of humour to start off with, until you explained a few things for me, especially Earl of Wimborne. Me, the Earl of Wimborne, or was it Duke? Anyway, but thanks a lot for all your comments over the years, Jim. I really appreciate them, and we have a nice bit of banter. But anyway, your question, I'm waffling on as usual. So Jim Timber says, hey Lee mate, what is your favourite environment to go wild camping in and why? Okay, that's 2 questions. LOL. So what is your favourite environment to go wild camping in and why? Favourite environment would be the beach, Jim. The reason for that is you do get a quality view that's forever changing. It's easier to sort of just pitch up and rock up on a beach, but also I don't like bugs and stuff. I'm surprised I wild camp in woods, and even with the lads, I'm really surprised I do it, because I don't like bugs, I don't like slugs, I don't like beetles, don't like spiders, don't like snakes, don't like lizards, don't like mosquitoes. I really don't know why I do wild camp. Love wild camping, but hate all the beastie crap that comes with it, beastie boys. So because I don't like those things, the beach for me is brilliant, because you haven't got any of that. You haven't got any fish bothering you, because they're normally in the sea. You haven't got any beetles. Very rarely have I seen any sort of bugs at all. No mosquitoes, because you've normally got an onshore breeze which blows them away, and they really don't live there anyway, because they don't live in salty water, I don't think. And also there tends to be, you know, it's fresh churning water all the time. Definitely the beach. The only downside to the beach is it's cold, or it gets chilly in the evenings, even in peak summer. You know, I've been down to that beach when it was 27 degrees when I arrived, and it was like 5 degrees and probably less than that with wind chill overnight. It gets wetter on the beach, obviously, because you've got loads of water in the air and sea spray and, you know, sea fog and all that sort of stuff. That's the downsides to beach camping, wild camping. And the other downside is if you haven't got any log, you can't naturally find a lot of firewood on the beaches I go to. There's nothing really. So you have to bring in your own firewood if you want to fire. The downside to that is that the stones explode and you get peppered like a hand grenade if you're not careful. So there are ways around it, or to minimise the risks, but it can be quite dangerous sitting around a fire with exploding pebbles, especially if they're big ones, because they go quite far, and it is like being hit by a hand grenade. A lot of my fleeces and even this puffer's been attacked by exploding pebbles. That's why my fleeces have all got burn holes and stuff in. It's yeah. So hopefully that answers your question, Jim. 2 more questions left. The second to last is from Rick, Rickalls Outdoors. All right, Rick, how you doing? Hope everything's well. Rick has gone to the sort of similar questions to the others, really. What do you like more, raving or camping? Again, this question's come up a fair bit, really, out of the sort of questions that I've got. There's 6 pages here, but that's because of my answers, I think. I love them both equally, really. As you haven't asked me to choose one or the other, I'm going to slightly contradict myself to a previous answer and say I prefer wild camping, just to keep everybody happy, really. It's really tricky because it's a totally different. I mean, you can't really compare techno or music in general to wild camping. Perhaps classical music you might be able to, but you know, you're going from one extreme to the other in terms of noise levels up on techno, wild camping way down. Chill level can be up in techno, but then you can get stressed when there's a queue or there's people about, or you've got a queue for the toilets. Wild camping, no problem. Never a queue for the toilet, and never people to stress you out because there's plenty of space. So it's an extreme of one or the other. So it's really difficult to choose between the two. But I've tried to do my best to answer as honestly as I can. So I hope that answers your question, Rick. Thanks very much indeed. See you soon, mate. Okay, the last question is from English Andy, who's changed his name. Used to be Andy and his surname. I won't say his surname, he might have changed it for a reason. All right, Andy. Nice to see you nice. Andy's question is, so, what do you do for a living? Well, I own a successful painting and decorating company. I've been self-employed for 20 years, or nearly 20 years. And I love it. I love the freedom that it gives me. I can, you know, nip off on a Friday and go raving. I can come back on a Tuesday after being raving. I can, you know, do pretty much what I want, which is what I like about it. I mean, I'm waffling again because you just asked me a question, I've just answered it. But I do get my hands dirty. I do painting and decorating. I like to get my hands dirty a little bit. I don't like them getting painty, to be honest, but yeah, it pays the bills and gives me the freedom to do what I want. The only downside is not getting holiday pay and sick pay. That's what I don't like about it, and not many pay rises. But anyway, I hope that answers your question, Andy. There you go, people. I hope that's given you an insight into my life a bit more, and thanks very much for all the questions. Really appreciate it. It's getting a bit dark and gloomy now. It's 3:30 in the afternoon, obviously. Yeah, thanks a lot for all the questions. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate all the comments and the questions. I'm going to end it here. And I am going to end it here, Tim. My mate Tim, my rave buddy Tim, always takes the mick out of me because I'm always saying goodbye and then I come back and say something else, and I'll say, yeah, I'm going to end it here, and then I'll come back. Anyway, I'm waffling again. Waffle, waffle, waffle. Waffle. I can smell poo. And no. No fun on Vancouver Island. I haven't shit my pants again. I think I might have some on my shoe from a dog, or a cat, or a sheep, or a deer, or a badger, or a human. You never know. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. See you soon, guys, and have a great Christmas. If I don't see you before, I'll see you after. If you don't see me before, you'll see me after. Have a great Christmas and a fantastic New Year. Don't get too drunk. See you later, guys. Bye-bye. Hello, Lee. What country? Country wasn't country. I keep thinking it says country, but it's not. It's county. Cut that. 1, 2, 3.
cars. I'm moving in a minute. The next question is from Jibby. Cut. 1, 2, 3. Oh shit, literally shit. Just stood in shit. Nice.
It's hot under this hat. And that was Rameman. Rameman. Can never pronounce it. Rame. Keep wanting to say Rain Man. I'm an excellent driver. Yeah.
Oh, my hands are freezing. I keep getting interrupted by dog walkers. It's dog walkers. Dog water. I wanna be a dog water when I grow up. It's dog water. It's dog walker city up here. Dog walker. It's quite simple. Dog walker. Not dog water. Dog water. Dog walker. Dog walker. Dog walker.